there, friends. Just wanted to give a heads up that this episode, unfortunately, we had a hiccup with the video, so you're about to experience only the audio from this episode 38 of the Overflow podcast. We'll catch you next time. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Overflow podcast. Good morning, Jeff Waterman.
Good morning, Andy Ferguson.
Hey
How
there.
are you today?
Doing pretty great, actually. Yeah,
Good.
feeling good. It's beautiful. I had a beautiful couple days out.
Well, summer in September.
Yeah,
Love it.
Actually, it's been wonderful. I packed up some picnic gear and took the family to Kensington last night, in fact, and just sat by the water edge, and I had some strawberries and blueberries and all this stuff. Yeah,
very good for you.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it was just a nice way just to be outside and enjoy this special time of year.
Yeah, we went out on the pontoon boat and just stopped at this one spot and just watched the sunset. It was awesome. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice time to be in Michigan.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, I was recalling some seasons of time in Nashville or in South Carolina or even down in Florida or California. It doesn't matter, but it seems like the transitional seasons there, like spring and fall, last like maybe 3 weeks or so, and then it's 100 degrees the rest of the entire year,
okay.
or summer. And here, wow, we get a long fall, we get a long spring. I just love that.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you love it.
Loving on Michigan. So there we go. Land of, 10,000 lakes or something.
I think that's Minnesota.
Yeah,
I think we have 9,999
Oh,
lakes,
sure.
so I don't know.
Exactly. Yep. Winter water wonderland. I see
That's
that on the
it,
license plates. Yeah. So, well, here we go. We're overflowing from our Sunday service,
Right.
and I'll just give a little hint as well. We took up some time regarding one of the questions that was asked to us here, and so I did mention in that episode or that podcast episode that was episode 38. This one might also be episode 38 technically.
So there's like 38 and
38.
38A.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Yep. And so I just don't want to confuse you guys out there, but we are trying to answer multiple questions. And, well, thank you, by the way, for writing us questions.
Absolutely. Keep them coming, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So this past Sunday, the title of the service was Promise Results in Provision, and we are continuing our sermon series either focusing on promise or problem. And so that's the sermon series, problem or promise.
Right.
Which one are you going to focus on? And here we are continuing through our journey of Genesis at the moment, following Abram, turning into Abraham. And here we are years later, and maybe 15 years later, maybe 20 years later, not sure.
Yeah.
And he's been called to sacrifice his son.
Could you imagine?
No.
I mean, I couldn't imagine that. Could not imagine God coming to me and saying, sacrifice your son. I just, that blows my mind. That's why when we started, I said, I think there's two hard stories that compete for me, the hardest stories. It's Job and this story.
Mm-hmm.
And Job, because God seems to allow Satan to do whatever he wants to Job. Like, causes life to go cruddy. That's a hard view of God.
Yeah.
And then this one where God says, all right, go up and sacrifice your son. Like, really? You're asking him to do that?
Yeah. Can I just read the beginning portion? Because it is crazy. You're right. It's literally like after these things. So that's after there was some issues with Abimelech and so on, a treaty, etc. It says God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, exclamation, right? Abraham. And he said, here I am. And he said, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love. He recognizes the love there. And go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering. Wow. Right. I mean, we in last week's episode, we kind of were discussing about movement, how God says go or God says whatever it might be. And then we are like, okay, well, here's one thing you could do. Say, is that something that God would say? Is that something Jesus would say? And I agree with you wholeheartedly, where I would hear that and I would go, who's telling me this?
Right.
Yeah.
Particularly now in our what I would call the post-grace world, right? Because now we understand Jesus and we don't sacrifice animals, let alone human beings. Mm-hmm. So this seems so far out of the realm.
Yeah.
However, for Abraham, this is very culturally appropriate.
Yeah.
Not God appropriate, but culturally appropriate. So we think it's crazy, but maybe Abraham didn't think it was as crazy. Apparently he didn't, because I mean, he had a harder time telling people that Sarah was his wife than he does going up and sacrificing Abraham. Or Isaac. So maybe this isn't quite as crazy to him as it is to us.
Yeah, we read, thankfully, a little bit of clarification where he said, look, even if I do kill him, I have faith that God can bring him back from the dead.
Right. And which is great, but still, I can't imagine binding my son, putting him on the altar, and killing him and burning him. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, and thank God that it never got to that point. In fact, and the weird thing is that God did that for his own son. And that's kind of the whole point. That's the symbolism. That's the story. That's how it works with the Christology coming out of this section. But you've had some 3 insights that help us to experience and understand the provision that God provides when we operate in obedience to his promises.
Yeah, we start off with that provision comes through obedience. Not that I want to make sure we don't misconstrue this or misunderstand this. It's not that, hey, I do this, so God has to do that. What happens here is Abram is obedient to do what God told him to do, go up and sacrifice Isaac. And throughout we read in the text that Isaac figures out what's going on. He says, so where's the lamb and all of this stuff? Which, by the way, is such a great pointer to John the Baptist when he sees Jesus and he says, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. It's a really neat tie back to this. But he understood that, hey, if God's going to provide, as I walk in faith with him, as I follow his lead, as I operate my life around the way he wants me to operate, he will provide what I need, when I need it, how I need it, perfectly. But sometimes we don't do that. We like to take control of the situation. Yeah. And so, provision always comes through when we step out and we obey the calling that God has on our life.
Yep. I think of this also in regards to sheep, for example. Sheep have a tendency to stray. They can't clean themselves, so they're unclean already. And it requires a good shepherd to actually protect the sheep. It requires a good shepherd to provide for the sheep, whether it's the actual food they need or the security or the safety they need, etc. And so we are sheep, and that's how Jesus sees us, as sheep without a shepherd. And the sheep actually follow the voice of the shepherd, and a stranger's voice they don't follow. And that's the obedience right there. It's not that it's not coming first, the obedience, but it's coming by being a good sheep, just by being a sheep,
by knowing who you follow. There's a church phrase that comes out, hopefully I remember this correctly. It's to whom he calls, he will equip. Right. So if I'm called to do something, or I'm asked to do something, or I'm asked to step out, he's going to equip me to do that task. He's going to provide the skill. He's going to provide the resource. He's going to provide what's needed to fulfill that task. And so I don't have to have all the details figured out. I can be like Abraham and say, God's going to see for himself that we need a sheep, and he's going to provide it. My son.
Yeah. I would say even cutting the wood required for that fire was like already a test of obedience. Like, am I really doing this right now?
And then here, Isaac, carry it up.
You carry it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Whoa. Absolutely crazy. So when you said your second point on Sunday about provision coming through declaration, what did you really mean by that?
So what we see here is that Abraham, gets confronted by Isaac. So he does exactly what he said. All right, we're going to go. He spends 3 days going there. He's chopped the wood. He's got his servants, and he puts the wood on Isaac's back. And Isaac says, hey.
Are we missing something?
And Abraham declares the promise. Abraham declares who it is he's trusting. Abraham is communicate, hey, I don't have it figured out, but God is going to do this. God has promised that I'm going to have many descendants. God has promised that through you the descendants are coming. God can see for himself that he needs a sacrifice here, and he will provide it. Now, he doesn't know how, but he declares it. He just doesn't believe it, just doesn't hold it in himself. He declares that to his son Isaac.
Yeah, that's good. To declare anything requires some semblance of confidence as well as boldness.
Right.
And so it's an act of faith to declare that something is going to happen. You're either going to set it in motion yourself, or you have faith that somebody else will accomplish the thing that you're talking about. So it's quite important actually to say, like, look, I'm declaring this thing, and you don't do it blindly, but you have God already brought this child into the world through impossible circumstances. And so you can continually, like we're saying, okay, how do I practically live this out? We can bring a lot of things to remembrance.
Right. You mentioned that he believed that even if he killed Isaac, that God could bring him back to life. That's one thing to believe that, like, okay, I'm going to do this, but to now declare that promise, to declare that truth to someone else, that's a whole nother sense of vulnerability, because now if it doesn't come to fruition, that's another person that's looking at you like going, so how'd that work out for you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Your last point. So this is again just a quick little teaser episode, I suppose. This shortened episode here was provision comes through presence, and my mind immediately goes to a branch that is connected to a tree, and I see it all the time in nature. I love again how God takes these grandiose ways that he operates and applies it to nature. We see it as well as within our own lives too. And so, hey, yes, we're in the fall. The trees are starting to die off. The leaves are falling off of the trees. I always see that it's the leaves that are on the outside edges of the trees that turn first, and then it kind of works its way inward. And I view that and I go, the branches that are closest to the source of life are the ones that are still being nourished. The leaves that are closest towards the trunk of the tree and the roots of the tree remain green the longest. They have life that is flowing into them. The leaves that are falling and changing and turning are the ones that are actually dying, and they're furthest out from the source of life. And then when they die, they are separated from the branch. They no longer are alive.
Right.
And so it's like, look, if you want to have, if you want to be fruitful, if you want to bear fruit in your life, if you want to provide anything, if you want to have life pouring through you, you need to be actually connected to the source of that life.
Yeah, that being present with the Lord. John 15, Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Only when you're attached to me, only when you are abiding in the vine, can you produce much fruit. And so this idea that if we want to experience God's provision, and ultimately the provision of forgiveness, ultimately the provision of life, rescuing us from death to life, if we want to experience that provision, we have to be in the presence of the Lord. And we can see here in this story that Abraham is up there ready to take his son's life, and the angel of the Lord says, stop. He's right there with him, stop.
Yeah.
And he stops him from doing it, and he's right there with him, and he says, there's the ram over there. And so are we present? Are we resting in God's presence in our life? Are we resting in that vine? Are we starting our day in the Word? Are we spending time reflecting on who He is? Or do we do a quick devotion and we're off and we're doing a million things? So that's that idea of provision comes through presence. That as we are present with the Lord, maybe we're in financial hardship right now, and it's real easy to let that grab our attention and consume our attention. Particularly the further away we get from the vine, the farther our leaf is out, the less presence we play. Now all of a sudden we think, well, we got to figure out how to deal with our financial issues, rather than stepping in and saying, God, I'm really struggling here. And you can say, that's okay. I got you. I promise to provide for you. You'll have enough. Now, you might not have what Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk has, but you'll have plenty. I'll take care of you.
Yeah. It's a delicate place to actually be honest enough with God, to have that normal, friendly conversation like, hey, I'm honestly going through this over here, rather than, like you were saying, holding it yourself and taking it all by the might of your own hands and picking yourself up by your own bootstraps and saying, well, I got to figure this thing out. But it's a really beautiful, pleasant place to be, to say, God, this is what I'm thinking. This is
Right.
something that I'm going through. Here's something I'm wrestling with. And he loves that.
He does.
I would have to assume so.
Oh, he loves to hear from his children.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Right. And you know what? I appreciate that when my son does the same thing with me, if and when he is like actually honest with me about something, you know, and he doesn't need, I'm like, look, yeah, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. Just ask for it. You don't need to scream and cry over in the corner, because that's the other option, by the way.
Right. Throw a tantrum and,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
I'm like, yeah, why are you screaming? Just talk to me.
Right. And I love the fact that then we had Jacob Atem, the lost boy of Sudan, come and just talk about how God, all through his life, has provided and continues to provide, and the confidence that he can walk in, that God's going to do that. Not because some pie in the sky, empty hope, but because he's seen God's track record, not only through scripture, but through his life, escaping the onslaught over in Sudan and being a lost boy and having to run through the jungle at 4, 5, 6 years old, and being plopped at 12 years old in Weberville, Michigan, and then going to Spring Arbor University and Michigan State and University of Florida, all the way up to his doctorate, and now going back to Sudan to help his people.
Yeah.
I mean, who'd have thought that kid at 6 years old who was running for his life would be going back and helping his people? It makes no logical sense.
Right.
It only makes biblical sense.
Yeah.
That as you are present with the Lord, as you step out in faith, you know that when God calls you to something, he's going to provide what you need. As you declare his provision, as you declare his promise, you're declaring that to others, and now you can see his provision. And as you rest close to him, as you abide in the vine, you see his provision. And it gives you the ability to function and move forward with clarity, confidence, and courage.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful way to wrap up. Clarity, confidence, and courage. I pray that for all of you out there. Thank you so much for listening to us on this particular episode of the Overflow podcast. Thank you so much, Jeff Waterman.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
Good to be with you again.
Absolutely. Great to be with you once more. We're going to look forward to seeing you guys this coming Sunday here in Brighton, Michigan at the Well Church. 10 o'clock in the morning is our service time.
All right. Go and enjoy some sunshine, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.